Hey folks, gold farm time. We're checking out a mining engineering farm in the Steam Vault. So, enjoy. Yep, we're getting right into this one. So, the first thing we'll do is body pull these two. This makes sure the patrol in front of us activates since we walk close enough to them to see them, and it makes sure that it walks out of our way while we CC these two. FD at the furthest possible point from them, which, if you did the pull right, is beyond the range at which Feign Death checks for resists, and then we're on to the first pet pull. Put a Mend Pet up before going into Eyes of the Beast. Mend Pet does not cause threat after it's applied, as you'll see. We'll flutter on past the Bog Lord, activate Dive manually after he notices Guinevere, and now we gotta pull everything relevant out of our way. So while I have a minute here, I'll explain that this run we're seeing right now is the only uncut run I'll show, from start to finish. After this run is over, and we've seen an example of what a standard run looks like, I'll be going into clips from a bunch of other runs to showcase different possibilities. By the way, there's no spec that really matters for this. Survival is lovely. Readiness means you can use Feign Death twice in case the first one fails. Wyvern Sting and Scattershot are really powerful in my meme spec, but you can run as BM no problem. Here's my pet spec, it's nothing special. I will say that if you happen to have a Wind Serpent, it's probably convenient since you can boop something you want pulled from a very safe distance away with its lightning breath. But any pet works, even a meme pet like my Dragonhawk. Anyway, we've cleared the first pet pull. No shenanigans have occurred, so I'll run right up to the first node I want to harvest and feign death. We must stay down until the Boglords pass, but after they're gone, I can get up into Shadowmeld. The Boglords can detect stealth, and getting up ASAP into Shadowmeld means feign death comes off cooldown sooner. It's the safest option. Getting up into Shadowmeld around enemies didn't really work due to batching in vanilla, but in TBC I have never had any issues with it. If you are a Night Elf, give it a try. Now then, this node is the most bothersome one on the route to harvest. Not only must we wait for the patrol of water elementals to be away from us, but we harvest the node from the very edge of the aggro radius of the Naga on that short patrol to our right. You can get 2 taps in a single patrol loop, but it's tight and I don't recommend making a habit of it. It will bite you in the butt sooner or later. And we are, after all, doing this run with the goal of maximum speed and safety. Feigning death while everything is over 40 yards away, moving as quickly as we can between the things we want to grab. And I suppose keeping the pet alive too. Pet deaths take quite a while to recover from, but generally speaking they're avoidable. And speaking of things we avoid, there are potential spawn locations for the ore in this first room on the north side. Due to the mob composition up there and proximity to the ore nodes, we skip them. This room is already the most unsafe in the entire run, and I'll demonstrate how exactly that is, but for now, just know that you might have 1 or 2 less ore nodes in a run if RMG puts them up there. The later areas are much kinder. In this run, RNG favored us. Not only did we get a well-placed node requiring only this simple pet pull to obtain, but it's Khorium instead of Adamantite. In each Steam Vaults run, there are 2 Fel Iron nodes and 2 Adamantite or Khorium nodes. I have seen double Khorium in one run. There's also the cloud containing motes of water, harvestable by engineers, and 2 treasure chests. As I said a moment ago, sometimes there's some ore we consider unobtainable, or if you prefer, impractical to obtain, and skip. And sometimes the treasure chests are locked. But that's what you can expect in each run. That's what's guaranteed to spawn, even if the spawn locations are unfavorable. Or spawn behavior in the case of the chests. To avoid overcomplicating things, we won't be seeing chests in this run. I won't be looking for them. I'll get into the details of grabbing them later. They require quite different methodology to loot than any of the ore nodes do to mine. Anyway, we've mined out this part of the map, so it's time to expand. While we're swimming, I'll mention some of the special gear I've got on me. There's this helm, the Ultra Spectropic Detection Goggles. The mote cloud in the next room drifts around slowly, so it's convenient to be able to track that and know its location right away. My trusty Lay of Lilies from Vanilla comes in handy even now. A lily root can be useful in a pinch during any farm. If you happen to see a lay on the auction house for cheap, go ahead and pick it up. The Parachute Cloak has a 30-second cooldown in TBC. I must recommend you keep one on you for this farm. You'll find it's quite useful for maintaining movement speed over water with Cheetah, keeping Cheetah speed for a bit longer if you have a spell flying at you and need to turn Cheetah off, ensuring successful rocket jumps, extending rocket jumps, getting over an annoying puddle during the run after the first pet pull, and maybe some other stuff you happen to come up with during your own improvisation if you attempt this farm. I've got this azure silk belt. Due to the swimming section, it's convenient. And finally, I crafted these rocket boots extreme. They were kinda pricey, but they're both fun and useful. They're BOE like any of the other items I've mentioned, so if you don't have the recipe, you can get it from a friend. Despite the price, I highly recommend them. In fact, we're about to see a rocket jump in action. This patrol passed over a line on the ground, a good indicator for when I should send my pet up towards him. Misdirection is coming off cooldown, so I'll use it to get the other 3 targets on the pet, then run on past them. And then, whoosh! Kablamo! We have skipped the leper gnomes across the bridge. And all the remaining goodies are very easy to get, just cling to the side of the room and make your way around. You can rocket jump across to the left, but I always go to the right because I've ass-pulled stuff going from the left to the right before, but never from the right to the left. Probably something to do with the shape of the terrain on the outskirts of the room. Needless to say, none of the items I mentioned before are necessary for this farm. You do need a Zap Throttle Mode Extractor and a mining pick, of course, to get the most out of this, but if you don't have rocket boots, you could just feign death before the bridge. I'll show the quote-unquote normal pull later. There are other items I haven't mentioned too, like if you have any invisibility potions left over from DMT farming in vanilla, they can be used at certain points during this farm. I'm not going to go into a long list of items, I need to get into the other clips I want to show. I know this is just another episode, but I'm thinking of it kinda like a tutorial. So, do you have a good idea of what a standard run looks like by now? Ready to get into the other stuff? Good. So here's what we're going to do to officially close out this run. I asked a guildie to group my main with my bank ult. We're going to camp out right here, hop on our bank ult, AFK a couple of minutes so group lead is passed over, then use our bank ult to reset the instance. When we log back in, we'll be at the entrance and can start another run. You can also just log out for an extended period of time. I believe 15 minutes is the amount of time needed for the instance to reset on its own, so if you're doing quick runs during work or something, then no need for the ult hopping hassle. But anyway, you're most likely not survival, or at least not playing with this Scatter Wyvern meme spec like I am, so if you need a different way to get the 2 first mobs away, this works. The pet is despawned once we hit the corner, and we can continue on as normal. I also want to show that this spot here is good to feign death at. During the first run I ran really far, and it's rare we get the chance to do that safely since you may need to despawn your pet by cancelling Eyes of the Beast sooner, say if it gets netted by an engineer, and therefore the enemies double back to you that much sooner. This spot is the usual. There's another possible spawn location right here. If things are in your favor in terms of how far you took the pet pull, and if this node is only a 2-tap, you might be able to run to the usual spot without feigning here, but in the event that doesn't work, like this time, this spot is safe to feign at. In fact, this is a safe spot to AFK, assuming you don't have anything on you when you get here, of course. When you care to move on, simply do another pet pull like the last one from right here. It's a hassle to do 2 pet pulls in this one area, I know, but sending the pet forward and then back at one of the Bog Lords is more dangerous. They can kill the pet quickly and easily. This next pull, however, is an example of what makes this area so dangerous. The Sirens have the jankiest paving I have ever seen. I don't understand why they behave this way, but it's the one random BS thing we have to deal with in here, so let's talk about it. Keep an eye on the triangle here. It is not aggroed onto me. It's aggroed onto my pet, and yet it moves in the complete opposite direction. This can cause the Siren to pull other things, which usually come onto you rather than your pet, hence stopping Eyes of the Beast so soon. If I had waited longer, the Siren would have passed through something else for sure, and I would have been stuck with multiple enemies on me. I'll show you some more Siren shenanigans in a minute. There's one more important node in this area, and that's the Fell Iron node in the corner there. You can go straight there from the location of the node on this hill, if there happens to be one, and if not, you can go this way anyway since you'd only need to pull the 1 pack out of the way. However, be careful, the patrol close to the first boss may get in your way, and this is not the right way to squeeze between them. If you can't feign death on the node, or if feign death doesn't work, you can make for the evade spot next to the first boss's room. When you come back and try again, here's a good example of squeezing between the pack and the patrol. No feign death required if you do it right. I was in combat with the other pack near the hill. This Fell Iron node was a 2-tap, so we're able to get out without incident before that patrol coming on our left gets close enough. You could also pull directly to the ore, assuming the Sirens in the distant pack are cooperative and predictable. In fact, there's a chest here, so we'll get that too. First, we'll drop a frost trap to make sure our enemies can't make their way back to us so quickly, and then we'll run up to the chest and feign death. They cannot be looted if you're in combat, which is why the enemies near them have to be pulled away in very specific ways, so they get back after you're gone or done looting the chest. After the chest is looted, we can dart around the corner towards our other goal and harvest that Fell Iron. We'll look at more details surrounding the chests in a minute. We have to address some more stuff with the Sirens first. Take note that there is a Siren in this first Naga pack I poke. I'm not paying enough attention, so it will come back to bother us later. Just take note of the fact that when we hop into the water, there's no Siren following Guinevere. While we're doing the pet pull, I'll say that there are 2 chest spawn locations we want to go for. The one we just saw, and one closer to the pack on the hill. If the chest in the first room isn't at one of those 2 locations, skip it. They might be easier to get if enemy paving behaved more like we expected to, but the Sirens are a factor, so it's terribly risky to go for any of the others. I'll show a successful grab on one of the others, just so you can see how precise the pull has to be. It's utterly stupid, and it almost certainly winds up being more a waste of time than anything. Well, the pet pull is complete and we'll hop along happily, totally unaware of impending shenanigans. I slow fall to get over the puddle, but I'm targeted by an elemental, and I really should have toggled Cheetah off as soon as I saw that. Nevertheless, we can feign death right here, but there's a problem. So if we wait for the mobs to come back, we'll get up from feign death into a world of hurt. The Boglord's coming back and it can detect stealth, but if we stand over here near the end of the Water Elemental's patrol path, the Boglord passes by no problem, and we can recover from here. I'll show you another example. I pay attention to the Siren in this pull here, and it's following my pet for the start. That will change, but for now my guard is down. We'll dive into the water as usual, keep swimming forward, and we'll look back to watch the Naga slithering after us. Since I checked to make sure the Siren was following during the pull itself, I failed to realize that it's no longer here swimming after Guinevere with its other friends. I'll wait until these Naga catch up some more. We want them far away from us. Never let them catch up completely, they can kill the pet quickly and that always takes a while to recover from. I cancel Eyes of the Beast when I'm comfortable with how far the Naga are from me, and then get running again. Suddenly, an arcane flare hits me from out of nowhere. The Siren passed almost into the water elementals, and we are very fortunate indeed it didn't go a little further. We need to make some distance between us and the Siren, but the other mobs in the same pack have not dropped off either, since they're attached. With arcane flare off, I bandage briefly. We cannot allow the engineer to approach, so I'll use my Nope combo now, rocket off down the waterway along with Slowfall, and I chose a good time since I'm net in midair. It doesn't stop us from flying, but it does stop us from moving once we hit the water. When it falls off, I can swim further down the way to wait out the rest of my Feign Death cooldown, and with this maneuver we have survived the shenanigans. And if you thought that was bad, get a load of this. We're going to try the pet pull from the location of the 4th ore node, so we can get the chest around the corner. Now look at this, really look at this. We get the attention of everything here and dive into the water. Guinevere is going to sit close to the far wall, but not too close, because if she moves too far up, she will despawn from the distance to us. Now, where the hell is this Siren going? In order to get this chest, we cannot be in combat while we loot it, so I'll wait for this pack to pull onto me, then feign death. Guinevere died, her life sacrificed for this treasure chest. We barely got the chest. And now because feign death is on cooldown, we have to use the evade spot. Ugh. This area is terribly unforgiving, but for all the wrong reasons. I do hope this is fixed in the future. There are other spawn locations in this room, and I'm now going to show you a ridiculous pull that I don't recommend doing. We cannot stray from this spot until as many enemies as possible are pulled out of the way, because the pet will otherwise despawn. This pull relies on the Sirens being cooperative, and there are still water elementals in the way, but I wasn't able to get them. We need to go now if we're going to get the chest. A rocket blast gets us there quickly. Feign death worked, we can loot the chest, but now we're stuck. This other clip from a different run shows a successful escape from that location, even though I failed to get the chest. I had to wait for my rocket boots cooldown to get out alive, so yeah, unless we find a new way to pull stuff in this room, just skip this one. If you're wondering about the chest near the hill, it's very easy. It's the same thing as the pull to get the ore up on the hill, but with chest mechanics. Use a frost trap to slow stuff down. Mind that things might cast at you in the meantime. Get the chest when you're ready, then get out of there. Very simple, very easy. Best chest location for the first area, by far. Before moving on, we must check either of the two spots up top for the second chest. Scouting this early could save lots of time later, so it's worth it to stop for a second and look. If the second chest isn't spawned in one of those two locations up there, it'll be to the right after the waterway, which we can sneak to by passing this patrol when it hits the end of its path. Shadow Meld helps, but it isn't necessary. Now, I've tried to get this chest without pulling the two guards, but if I try looting from around the corner, I get in combat with them. If it's at one of the other two locations, I like to come here last, but if it's here, I'll hit this up before the final room, the Steamrigger's room. Anyway, the pet pull is necessary. Run the pet past, drop into the water. And this chest is yours. Easy. The patrol gets in the way on the way back, but that's nothing a little survival CC can't fix. Trap one, sleep another, scatter the third. And pray the one hit we take over here doesn't daze us, because we'll rocket jump right past before feigning death. If you don't have rocket boots, or just want to play it safe, sneaking in and out is just as simple. We still have to do the pet pull, and after you've done that, you may politely wait for the patrol to pass. Again, I recommend using the lines on the ground as indicators for when it's safe to go. When you're back near the tunnel to the waterway, you can eyes your pet down to where it's supposed to be, and set it to stay before throwing up misdirection for the normal pull to the left. You could also use misdirection to get to the second chest, but I only recommend that for going to the far ones. If you're late on the multi, this guy might pull two, but he's hardly a problem. The only funny ore spot in the whole second area is the one before the bridge. Here, I stupidly decide to misdirect everything instead of having the pet pull the patrol for me, so one thing is left on me. Nevertheless, I run far enough away from the pet to despawn it, then feign by the node. And after harvesting it, I rocket jump across. You can rocket jump without slow fall active, but that's a needless risk. Use it responsibly. The rocket boots are for nope moments in the first area and for skipping things in the second area. I don't recommend using them for anything else. If your rocket boots are on cooldown like they are for me in this clip, or if you don't have them, you'll have to feign death on this bridge and do a pet pull. We have to wait for the dive cooldown though, so I'll refresh Mend Pet and then recast Eyes of the Beast. Make sure you tap the first leper knobs. The ones closest to me tend to come for me if I don't, so yeah. I flap over here and sense something's wrong when I don't see a train of leopard gnomes coming for Guinevere. Turns out they all came for me for some reason. This second area is really safe. If your feign death fails, you can just hop off the side, come back up and try again. Hard to die around here. This time they come for the pet and don't bother me at all. I don't even need to feign death, they've completely forgotten I exist. So I head to the right, collect my goodies, and when I'm done up here, it's time to hop back down to the waterway and loop back around, because the second chest is in the far room in this run. Misdirection is up after the pull to the left by now, so I'll use it to pass the mobs here. I get one extra, but he's put to sleep. We'll walk past the guards with a scatter and a slow, and feign death across the bridge. This area is also pretty safe. In an emergency, you can fall into the water to protect yourself, but our pet will be doing that to get all the mobs away. Despite being dazed, Guinevere makes it to the water alive, and we can walk on over and get the chest. Let the casters leave first though, they might stop to cast on you, if you put yourself in range. Yeah, the second chest is really easy to get, no matter where it spawns, of the 3 locations. Pretty much anywhere besides the first area in Steam Vaults is very safe. Anyway, we got the chest, so we'll keep going to despawn the pet, then log out to end the run. I'll show you one more clip of grabbing that particular chest, because there's a point I want to make. First, we sneak past the patrol and bypass the guards, as before. You can feign death about halfway across this bridge without aggroing the Naga across. I like to get a look at everything by getting as close as possible. We'll back up some so that we can loose the casters as we eyes of the beast. The pack across the bridge didn't notice Guinevere, so we can safely grab the far pack before heading back. Makes it very simple and easy. Guinevere doesn't get dazed this time, but she is in Los with that Siren. I tell her to follow me briefly so she leaves line of sight by swimming further into the tunnel. Thus, she avoids dying, while I run straight to the chest. Again, we run past the chest when we're done to despawn the pet and end the run. The final location is to the right across that bridge. We screwed up sneaking to it, so we'll have to pull these guys strangely to get past them quicker. We'll head about halfway across the bridge to get a look at the patrols, and at the chest location, and then feign death now that it's off cooldown. We have to head back to stay out of Los with the casters, but once again, Guinevere is going to flap headfirst into them. The patrol looks good. I'll head straight for the far pack, then arc around before falling into the water. The casters have all left. The patrol's in the way, so I'll head to the right and throw up misdirect while I can. But a pack is on me. Feign Death works, but if it didn't, I had misdirection ready to go. Since Feign Death worked, we can loot this chest and head to the back of the room to end this run. And that'll be the end of this episode too. I'd like to thank y'all for watching, hope this helps y'all out. Or if you're one of my friends who just likes to keep up without playing, then I hope this episode was thoroughly entertaining too. It was fun for me, I like going all tutorial mode sometimes. Getting into the tactics and technicalities is fun. Shout out to Fio of Herod for introducing me to the farm in the first place. Thank you, mate. It has proven invaluable for helping me get the epic flying, the NG flyer, leveling my NG up to that point, keeping up with consumables. I'll keep your videos on the subject pinned in the Ravager Den's media channel, but I do hope this episode has offered you some insight too. Thanks again, very much. With our journey up to 70 complete and a gold farm established, it's time to take a short break from WoW to go back to some Amnesia for the next episodes. I have a great custom story in mind to play through. If you haven't already, catch up with the Key to Freedom series. That custom is perhaps the pinnacle. And my ramblings at the end of the series, and during the bonus episode, are relevant to the next one up. And, by the way, I figured out how to get an Oculus Rift working for Amnesia, so that'll make for a really interesting playthrough, I'm sure. It's not perfect, you know, modern technology with old game, but I'd control the camera with my head, and the control scheme is pretty immersive by default anyway. For now, though, that'll be all. So I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!